our panel, Mercedes Schlapp, American Conservative Union Foundation Senior Fellow, former advisor for strategic communications in the Trump White House as well. Leslie Marshall, radio talk show host and Fox News contributor. Great to see you both. Leslie, that 47 to 53% people in favor of a recall, that the margin of error brings those numbers almost as close as a tie. Is it time for Gavin Newsom to wake up to the fact that he's in trouble potentially?
I don't think one poll, and that poll definitely, in my opinion, although I love William and his reporting here in L.A., is an outlier. Gavin Newsom actually has strong support. This is a largely Democratic state, even though we do have pockets of red throughout California. And even though this is the 6th attempt and is successful in the first in decades going forward to unseat Gavin Newsom, I'm going to go on the record right here, Harris. I'll go to Vegas that Gavin Newsom will remain governor, and this will be a very costly re-election effort by my state that I and others here will have to pay for.
Mercedes.
Well, I got to tell you, when you look at Gavin Newsom's record, it's pathetic. You know, you're seeing more and more businesses leave the state. You're seeing greater homelessness, poverty rates skyrocket. You know, obviously they've had such miscommunication and dysfunctionality when it came to the COVID response. And so, look, it is going to be difficult. And I agree with Leslie. It will be difficult for a Republican to win as governor in the state of California and beat Newsom. However, as we're seeing several weeks before this election, the trends are going against Gavin Newsom. The biggest problem for Republicans is they should galvanize around one candidate instead of the 40-odd people who are on that list.
Yeah. Real quickly about that camp that he pulled his kids out of. Mercedes, the take on hypocrisy there that people are talking about in California today.
Yeah, there's no question that he made a big mistake, especially since he's pushing this state policy of that you need to wear a mask. I mean, I just feel bad for his kids, quite frankly, Harris, to be put on the spotlight like that.
Yeah, it's hard for them. House Democrats voted down a bill that would strip federal funding from segregated diversity trainings and schools that teach concepts associated with critical race theory. It was introduced by Republican Congressman Burgess Owens of Utah, who grew up in the Jim Crow era. He gave an impassioned speech after the bill failed.
The critical race theorists believe that we are defined solely by our skin color. They believe that American institution preserves white supremacy. Some even believe that our nation is hopelessly racist. To try and make this divisive theory understandable, teachers often separate students into separate groups based on intrinsic characteristics like race, color, and national origin. In doing so, students are taught to judge others based on their appearance. In the 1960s, this was called pure racism.
How do you defend CRT in this environment? Leslie.
Well, first of all, there's no evidence that in the public school system throughout the United States in grades K through 12 that critical race theory is being taught. It's more used as academia.
Actually, that's not true. There are more than 2 dozen, and it's documented. Hayward Unified spent $40 million of its budget on a curriculum that is based on CRT, parts of it. So, no. It's documented. And I can send it to you after the show. There are plenty of links. You can read all about it.
That's not what I did not say an individual school district. I said federally, across the board, throughout the United States, we don't have K through 12 in our public education system because we are talking about federal legislation for federal funding that goes to the states and then to the individual school districts. With regard to critical race theory, Darwinism is a theory. I don't believe we came from apes. I learned about it in school. I don't believe that. It is a theory. Critical race is a theory. And if the individual school districts, the parents and the teachers and the school board in those districts decide that they want to use parts of that theory to teach regarding race and racism and history surrounding racism, I'm all for it. I've learned about a lot of theories. I don't believe all of them, and neither will my children.
Mercedes, real quick.
Well, there's one theory, and this is, I think, a reality, too, which is America is not a racist country. We should not be teaching our children to be divided by race. That is horrific. It is anti-American, and it's why we need to make sure that these local school districts do not adopt that curriculum. As we know, there's many of these federal educational associations that support implementing the critical race theory curriculum. It is very problematic, and I think it really pits children one against the other. And we're not going to live in a place where we're going to say the oppressed versus the oppressor. That is not the way. That is not a healthy discussion. We can talk about the past. We can talk about America being an imperfect country and that there was things that we have had to fix. But we also need to come together as a nation, or we're going to lose this country and we will lose our children.
All right. Good to see you both. Great discussion. Thank you so much, Leslie, Mercedes. See you next time.